Can a desert messiah wield cosmic powers, yet fear his own destiny? Might a psychic mother control minds, but struggle with her son's fate? Could a freeman warrior harness sandstorms, yet doubt the loyalty of her heart? Would a ruthless noble embrace villainy, his blade sharper than his ambition? Imagine the epic heroes and villains of Dune, born from Arrakis, donning Marvel's Capes universe. How would Paul Atreides, Lady Jessica, Chani, and Fade Rautha fare as superheroes, with their origins, circumstances, and personalities reshaping the MCU? Let's dive into this thrilling crossover. Let's start with Paul Atreides, the young heir of House Atreides. Paul Atreides is crafted as the archetype of a messiah. In Dune, Paul Atreides is born with an extraordinary destiny. With noble blood, trained by Bene Gesserit masters, learning from his father Leto and Mentat warriors like Thufir Hawat, Paul is not only a political heir, but also the product of generations of deliberate breeding. Especially when exposed to spice on the planet Arrakis, Paul awakens the ability to see the future, perceiving time as a fluid, non-linear stream. If Doctor Strange had to lose his hands to arrive at Camartage, training rigorously to rediscover himself and unlock the hidden potential of his mind, the young heir of House Atreides had to lose his entire family to fully unleash the power of a Kwisatz Haderach. Doctor Strange can see millions of future scenarios thanks to the Time Stone. Paul doesn't need an Infinity Stone. He achieves this through spice. So, if Paul were to possess Strange's magic and tools, his prophetic abilities would reach a level beyond imagination. He wouldn't just foresee the future, he could shape and redesign it with precision, without trial and error, because he already knows every possible outcome. Paul's strength in Dune lies in his strategic thinking, his ability to choose the precise timeline to seize opportunities, avoid disasters, and manipulate crowds through religious symbolism. As Doctor Strange, Paul could apply all of this on a cosmic scale, where each decision no longer affects a single planet, but millions of parallel worlds. Stephen Strange starts as an arrogant man, but gradually accepts his role in maintaining the universe's balance. Paul is different. From the outset, Paul knows he is a tool in a larger plan from the Bene Gesserit, the Emperor, and hidden schemes where he is merely a pawn. But Paul refuses to accept this. He rebels against the destiny laid out for him, using his powers to shift the tides. If he were in Strange's place, Paul would surely challenge the Ancient One, question Camartage's role, and refuse to be a passive guardian. He would go further, not just protecting the timeline, but crafting a future according to his own vision, much like when he chose to become the Kwisatz Haderach and ignite the Holy War in Dune, despite knowing it was a path of suffering. One of the things that makes Paul a tragic figure is his ability to foresee every death, every pain, yet be unable to prevent them all. The price of his prophetic power is isolation. In Doctor Strange, Stephen also sacrifices his love for Christine Palmer to become the guardian of reality. Paul, despite having Chani by his side, always lives with the premonition of separation and loss. So what if Dr. Paul used the Darkhold like Scarlet Witch did? Or chose to preserve a better timeline as in What If? By sacrificing entire other universes? This is a scenario where both characters merge. Between morality and reality, Paul always chooses the painful but necessary path. Next is Lady Jessica, Paul's mother and a Bene Gesserit master, who embodies the essence of Scarlet Witch. But if Jessica possessed Scarlet Witch's abilities, the power to restructure reality, read minds, control chaos magic, and even create life, the story would reach an entirely new depth. Because unlike other Bene Gesserit members who manipulate through words, Jessica could now impose her will on the entire universe with her reality-altering abilities. With powers like Wanda Maximoff's, Jessica could prevent the betrayal of House Harkonnen from the start. Without needing Sardaukar troops or Fremen intervention, a single thought from her could rewrite history, turning Arrakis into a peaceful haven or even reversing time to prevent Duke Leto from ever setting foot on the desert planet. Just as Wanda rewrote reality in WandaVision to create Westview, a town where Vision and their children existed as she desired, Jessica could create an idealized version of the Empire, where Paul is free from the weight of destiny, where Leto lives, where the Bene Gesserit no longer manipulate generations. But what is the cost of an artificial reality? Scarlet Witch embodies extreme maternal love. Wanda's love for her two children once drove her to nearly destroy the multiverse. If Jessica had the same power, would she allow Paul to become the Kwisatz Haderach? Or would she recreate a perfect version of her son, a Messiah who doesn't need to endure pain, who doesn't need to foresee the future and bear the burden of billions of lives? Most notably, her voice ability would now reach a new height, not only controlling others, but also reality itself. Perhaps there would be no need for any Kwisatz Haderach at all, because Lady Jessica herself would already be the Kwisatz Haderach. Imagine, with chaos magic, Jessica turns scorching sand into meadows, transforms sandworms into gentle creatures, and converts spice, the addictive substance at the heart of the war, into a harmonious source of life for the universe. The Bene Gesserit would become relics. Emperor Shaddam IV would be erased from history. House Harkonnen would never be born. A perfect world, created by a mother out of love. But like Scarlet Witch, Jessica must also face an inescapable truth. A recreated reality is never real. And the more she tries to hold on to it, the more she risks losing herself. Though ruthless, the Bene Gesserit understand the universe's balance. Death and life, war and peace. If Scarlet Jessica goes beyond her limits, she would no longer be Paul's mother, but a goddess of an artificial universe, where every soul is merely a puppet. Then we have Chani, the fierce Freeman warrior from Sietch Tabr. Chani in Dune embodies resilience, freedom, and desert identity. She fights not only for survival, but for the Fremen's ideals of people oppressed and exploited by external forces. Chani is Paul's lover, but never becomes his shadow. Instead, she is the one always ready to question, resist, and maintain her own voice amidst the whirlwind of destiny Paul creates. Meanwhile, Black Widow Natasha Romanoff is the image of a woman with a painful past, once an emotionless assassin, but who rose up, broke free from the organization that controlled her, and became a superhero. Natasha doesn't possess supernatural powers, but her intellect, skills, and willpower earn the respect of even superhumans like Captain America. So, if Chani carried a history like Black Widow's, a past trained as an assassin, brainwashed, carrying out assassinations across planets instead of fighting for freedom, what would change? Like Natasha, Chani is already trained to fight professionally. With combat skills and weapon expertise, both women also possess highly unique tactical thinking, and both are resilient warriors. However, unlike Natasha, Chani always has Paul's love. An intriguing question is, if Chani were once an assassin, would she encourage Paul to unleash the Holy War as in Dune, Part 2? Or would she become the only one capable of dissuading him, having once been a tool of violence and understanding the cost of wars? Finally, we need a villain, and none other than Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen, a cold-blooded, somewhat brutal figure. With a prestigious background, Feyd himself is a talented individual. So who would be worthy to take his role in the Marvel Universe? My answer is Green Goblin. In Dune Part 2, Feyd-Rautha is a warrior both ruthless and intelligent. He is the black jewel of Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, the heir raised in darkness, growing up amidst blood, power, and a thirst for destruction. Feyd is not merely a fighting machine, but a true political chess player, ruthless, charismatic, and always ready to stab anyone in the back, even family. Now imagine if he gained another layer of power, the genius madness and terrifying technology of Green Goblin, the dark alter ego of Norman Osborn. Green Goblin is not just an ordinary villain, but a symbol of moral collapse, a father, a brilliant scientist, turned mad by an obsession with power and fear of losing control. When combined, Feyd Goblin would be a perfect creature of darkness, intelligent, technologically advanced, ambitious, and above all, relishing in the pain of others. Green Goblin doesn't just defeat enemies, he destroys their souls. Just as he once took Gwen Stacy to devastate Peter Parker, Fade would not hesitate to use brutal tactics to strike at Paul Atreides' mental weaknesses. If Fade had Goblin's glider, pumpkin bombs, and performance-enhancing serum, he would become a nightmare not only on the battlefield, but also in the minds of his enemies. Instead of dueling with swords as in Dune, Part 2, Fade Goblin could unleash a barrage of surprise attacks from the air, from afar, with remote-controlled devices. He wouldn't need to adhere to any code of honor, he only needs to win, by any means necessary. With this mindset, the confrontation between Paul and Fade would no longer be a battle between a messiah and a beast, but a clash between supreme intellect and unpredictable chaos. One element that makes Green Goblin unique is the struggle between Norman and Goblin within the same body. If Fade also had to face two aspects of himself, one the cold Harkonnen heir, the other an uncontrollable Fade Goblin, he could become a far more complex character, both victim and perpetrator. In moments of clarity, Fade might realize he is merely a pawn of the Baron, a product of a cruel system. But when the Goblin takes over, all that clarity turns to rage. Like Norman Osborn knowing he's wrong but powerless against the demon in his mind, Fade would be trapped in a cycle of hatred with no way out. Green Goblin loves taunting his enemies. He doesn't just defeat them, he laughs while doing it. If Fade carried that essence, Arrakis would no longer be a planet of holy wars and revelations, but a chaotic stage where a death clown dances in flames. He wouldn't just attack Paul, but would find every way to manipulate the Fremen, sowing doubt, dividing their ranks, as Goblin once did with Marvel's superheroes. Fade Rautha is already a dangerous figure, but he's still bound by Harkonnen traditions and rules. Green Goblin, however, is an uncontrollable villain. If Fade became Green Goblin, the scariest thing wouldn't be how powerful he is, but that he no longer believes in anything except destruction. Nothing could be more terrifying for House Atreides and the Fremen than a mad, brutal, and cunningly intelligent foe. He would do anything, use every means to achieve his goals. In a universe where sand and stars intertwine, where ancient destinies meet superhero powers, Dune's characters donning Marvel capes don't just alter personal fates, they challenge the very nature of power, sacrifice, and free will. Paul is no longer merely the Kwisatz Haderach, but becomes the sorcerer supreme of the multiverse. Lady Jessica carries the pain and magic of Scarlet Witch. Chani from A Desert Warrior steps forth as an assassin spy Black Widow. Or Fade Rautha, with his cruel madness, becomes the embodiment of Green Goblin in the heart of blazing Arrakis. These hypotheticals may never come true, but they pose an intriguing question. Can humans ever escape their fate, whether in scorching sand or among the stars? And if power is real, what truly defines a hero? Their abilities or their choices? For in any universe, perhaps what makes them most memorable isn't their extraordinary power, but how they use it to protect, to rebel, or to change an entire world. So what do you think about this what if video? Drop a comment below to let us know.